Pak Yansen udah diambil? Udah masuk ya? Ya.
Sudah, Pak.
Agak berdengung ya? Tadi nggak berdengung kan?
Lah boleh dibuka kalau enggak waiting room, Pak.
Ini dibuka.
Banyak
Iya,
dari,
ini udah jam 1 juga.
ya, udah banyak yang dari SBU tuh di dalam waiting room tuh.
Buka.
Udah jam 1.
Oh, jadi ini belum dibuka tadi yang Bu Nani?
Belum.
Hah?
Di admit maksudnya.
Iya, maksudnya disuruh masuk ke ruangan. Ini udah mulai, Pak.
Udah.
Oke.
Udah mulai masuk. Nanti sore itu ya.
Mungkin nggak bisa masuk itu Pak.
Masuk ke Bede Barabui.
Mainan tadi lah, bukan ketua.
Good afternoon, my friends.
Halo, Dr. Tita.
I came in early. There might be problems in the connection. So
Good afternoon, Dr. Tita.
good afternoon.
Papa
How are you?
Fine. Thank you for the background. Hi,
Thank you for
Doc.
joining us.
Hi, Prof. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been about a year or more, yeah? We didn't.
Yeah, I think
didn't see
more.
it. Yes.
More.
Yeah.
No troubles this time.
Not.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation to us for this one.
Okay. We thanks to you.
Mhm.
You facilitating your student.
Yeah,
To
students
join
so
the seminar.
interested to join. Yep,
It's about 31 students.
31 students. Hope there will be no problem with the connection.
Ya.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Dua sama.
Oh, many participants already, 63.
Yep.
Free.
Now 63.
Many. I don't know if we have students here already from San Beda.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of them
in-
already here. Yeah.
Ah, okay, they're already here. Good.
Yeah. There's one, two, there's a lot.
Next time they will be going there,
Yeah, it's good.
especially
Yeah.
when we will have our activities with Renper,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
With seed as well.
Yes, with
Yeah.
seed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you're planning to have yours.
Actually, we're planning to have like a mini seed this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with the pandemic, the COVID-19, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can make one next year.
Yeah. Maybe we can have virtual seed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good idea.
That's good idea.
Yeah.
Mbak, lihat
We
di
have-
layar Mama. Mama foto lagi. Mama
Ya.
kepencet apa ini jadi gini tulisan?
Masuk katanya Ibu Nani. Kepencet apa ini?
Mama harus apa ini, Nak?
Istrinya Pak Zainal, Pak. Mama kepencet apa?
Dulunya berapa dia?
Hello, everybody.
Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pak Agus.
Good afternoon.
How are you? Your background look different, Pak Agus.
Yeah, I'm at the top of mountain in Bengkulu. Just background. Okay, good afternoon, everybody
Oh,
from
nice
Bengkulu.
background that is, the tower. Good afternoon.
So Pak Wir, I think Pak Wiryono, how are you? Where's Pak Wiryono? Selamat siang Bapak Ibu sekalian.
Ya,
Kalau ini agak kurang nyaman, agak jauh juga Pak.
Ratita, how was COVID in Philippines?
Sorry?
How was COVID-19 in Philippines?
Well,
Getting
still
worse?
increasing.
Okay, it's the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're hoping we can really put an end to that pandemic.
Yeah.
Everybody is praying for that. For the whole world, actually.
Yeah. It's already about 8 months, 6 months at least.
Yeah.
Since in March. Yeah.
So that's why we have to go online in many of the activities.
Yeah.
Especially the classes. We have online.
Have already started in San Beda University, the classes?
Classes?
Yeah.
Next month, tomorrow, September 7th.
Okay. Okay.
How about yours?
Middle September, I think. Next month.
Yeah. Prof. Sainal, maybe we can do some kind of Renper project for the students.
Udah ya?
Yeah, we can join activities together between
online.
university. Online between UNEP and San Beda University.
Yes, especially the students who are here, those so interested with the
That's a good
Renper,
idea.
our network.
Yeah. Our international seminar will be next year in Thailand. Eh?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's about March or April.
March or April, yes.
Yeah.
So in case, if okay, we can bring students there and have a program maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think they plan to have some kind of exhibition, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So we can bring our student there.
Hopefully.
Hopefully next year, I mean, COVID-19 is over already.
Yes, yeah.
Sainal, Dr. Tika, is there anybody who has interest in climate change research?
Oh yeah, Prof. Yes, very interested. Climate change.
Yeah. It's maybe a good idea to have a joint article on the climate change and the effect on society.
Indonesia and Philippines,
Philippines, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Jansen, we have many projects now.
Okay. Pak Agus, who just asked about the climate change, Dr. Kita. He's like regional coordinator for Sumatra, for the association for
Oh, is he? Oh, that's great. That's good.
So that's
Yeah.
We have expertise from University of Bengkulu and probably other universities in Sumatera.
Okay.
Something like that as well.
We can communicate about that
Yeah.
for the
yeah.
details. Yeah.
Yes.
Prof. Agus. Yeah.
I guess in October we have international conference on climate change. Yes, it's better we can join together.
Prof. Agus this October you mean?
Sekarang ada
Yeah,
Bu
this coming
yang model
October.
tempo ini. Terus dia dapat jadi kelihatan
Nice to see familiar faces from UNIP. When I was
Yeah. Hi, Prof.
hello.
Tita. Hi.
Yes.
How you doing?
Nanik, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss everybody.
Yeah.
Mm.
Bu Titi will join to the webinar also.
Okay.
Ada ukurannya,
Prof. Dede is there.
Oh, Bu Titi is already there.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hello, Mbak Titi. How are you? Where is she?
Sudah.
Dia saya nggak pakai kamera, Bu.
Ngomong ngecek, oh lepas masker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you. Sekarang udah jarang udah di kampus ya, Bu.
Udah nambung kok. Bisa copot kodong. Bisa tak ganti foto. Foto.
How is Mr. Villamos doing? Mr. Villamos, the Prof. Tita?
Yeah. Joel Villamor.
Yeah.
He's been promoted to another office.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Doing well there also.
Anymore. He's moving.
Perlu ditinggi lagi dah ya. Terus sekarang.
Sopan lang people.
Dr. Jansen.
Yes.
Prof. Sainal and Prof. Rosie. Thank you for the background. I share this with some of our students if they can make use of it. So some, I guess, are using it.
Yeah, I
Thank
see
you.
Miguel, Marina.
Yes.
Hi, Miguel.
Some better students are using it.
Yeah.
And our lecturers, I guess.
I have a problem using it with my
Okay. Yeah, actually I tried it earlier. Good, it went through.
But higher version.
Enggak, mungkin masuk aja.
Yeah.
Mungkin asal dia mungkin, tapi enggak ini.
So when we take photo, our students will have their souvenir of their faces in the Renper series. Yes.
Sudah ada. Kosong kan?
Ya.
So Attorney Dick is here already, I guess. Attorney Untayao is here, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
yes,
Good.
yeah. He joined us, I think at 11:30 or something.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this all undergraduate student, Dr. Tita?
Yes, they are. From the Department of Economics.
I see.
Yeah.
Istiawati Zainal Muqtamah.
Hi.
Pak Zainal Muqtamah.
Last time we joined ITB for the international conference. Yeah, first week of August. We have graduate students there.
I see.
Bahasa Inggris
It was this month also?
Yes, yeah.
Ini Brazil.
Selamat siang Pak Bambang. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Iya.
Jam 1 saya standby sampai jam 1.
Iya.
Chen, panggil aku Chen.
Jahitlah.
Sudah.
Itu tadi.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Tolong jaga dikit kami mau kebetul dari ucapan.
Kesabu.
Memang belum sanggup anulah benda ini yang kabar.
Kesabu. Oh.
Selamat siang Bu Yudi.
Background itu
Oh.
ada aplikasi polisi.
Enggak, sini langsung. Kita kan ini aplikasinya. Udah mulai.
Everybody look very happy. Good afternoon.
Ini sudah nih, kita langsung ke klik ke stop video, terus background. Kau harus semangat dan tegar, buktikan kalau semua baik-baik saja. Sabut itu. Anak itu.
Kita akan di-mute mungkin dalam 5 menit lagi. So we are going to mute all the participants in 5 minutes and we will start the presentation.
Oke.
Oh, ini masih bila bos sekali nih. Tuh. Kan. Anak
Tabay, bukan ading. Anak berarti.
Ini saja.
Oh.
Nah, rekor masih ngobrol dia.
Induk lah di ingin iksa.
Batasi ya.
Itu jawab tadi.
Gak bisa.
Sudah terlalu banyak analisa benar ya?
Kan salah di morgue itu melalui anu Pak. Di inbox. Dari kecilnya.
Iya kan? Iya kan? Gitu kan? Kemudian ditambah itu tidak tambah itu hanya perbedaan levelnya aja. Tambah. Iya kan?
Okay, check sound. Good, very good. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a very good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is very healthy, happy as we always want to be. Semoga kita semua selalu sehat walafiat dan selalu dalam lindungan Allah Subhanahu wa taala.
Amin ya Rabbal.
My name is Fahrul Rozi. I'm a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Bengkulu. And I'm very happy and very honored to chair this wonderful virtual seminar organized by Renper Office of University of Bengkulu. Before I introduce our distinguished speaker this afternoon, I would like to welcome you all. Selamat datang semuanya. All the audiences, para peserta, para participants, and from Philippines. I also noticed from Malaysia and from United States. And some cities in Indonesia, from Manado, Depok, Yogyakarta, Bogor, and etc., all across Indonesia. Selamat datang semuanya. Mudah-mudahan kita akan mendapatkan pencerahan. We will have, inshallah, very good ideas of how COVID-19 affects the unemployment rate and also about the poverty this afternoon. I would like to specifically greeting Professor Dr. Tita Evasco Branzuela, Vice President of Sambeda University of Manila, Vice President of Linkages and International Affairs. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It was very nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Good. And also I would like to greet Dr. Sigit Sujatmiko, Vice President of Sumber Daya at University of Bengkulu, and other distinguished participants which I cannot one by one mention, but all of you are the reason to make this session come through this afternoon. All right. I would like to, I think as we might aware that today we are going to have we are going to talk about the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, the thing that what really happened around us, about the impact of COVID pandemic on unemployment and poverty rate in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and Philippines, across the world, of course. This pandemic is something that we have to go through, we have to experience, we have to go deal with the pandemics, believe will change many aspects of our living. The way we manage our courses, our life, the way we interact with our students, with others, and the way we deliver our course, and even will eventually build the civilization and the humanity itself. New normal is believed to create the new balance. But in between, there will be so many sad stories take place, so many pains that people have to suffer, and even so many deaths people have to pay for the establishment of new expected balances. Nevertheless, life must go on. So we are very happy this afternoon to have our two distinguished speakers from the University of Bengkulu and also from Sambeda University of Manila, who will discuss and presenting, sharing with us their research experiences about the COVID-19, how the effect of COVID-19 on unemployment rate and poverty rates. First of all, I would like to introduce Dr. Retno. Dr. Retno. Okay. I think you can see this share. Can you share the CV, please? Okay. The first speaker is Dr. Retno Eka Putri. Okay, next the CV, please. Okay. Okay, she's the dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Bengkulu. She has a lot of experiences in dealing with poverty and economic issues. She was a head of the graduate program of economic of the University of Bengkulu, and she's also a regional economist, Indonesian Ministry of Finance. She is the president of Indonesian Economics Association Chapter Bengkulu, and most important thing that she has been working a lot with consultant, small holder economics, and also financial advisor at the World Bank for development project in Bengkulu. And I believe Dr. Retno will share a lot of experiences with us this afternoon. And the second speaker is Attorney Dictador V. Untayo. I'm not sure if I pronounce your name very well. Welcome here, Mr. Untayo. Mr. Untayo is a special lecturer at Sambeda University at the Department of Economics, and also teaches various law subjects in Sambeda University. And Mr. Untayo is a specialized in labor law, civil law, and commercial law, election law, and immigration law. He is also the managing partner at the Untayo Garcia Farmhouse Law Office. And these two speakers is very reliable, very so resourceful for us this afternoon. I know that we are all very eager and impatient to listen the presentation of the both speakers. Saya yakin kita sangat tidak sabar untuk mendengarkannya. But I have to invite Professor Zainal Muktamar, Ketua Renper Universitas Bengkulu, Head of Renper of University Bengkulu, to give a welcome speech and opening remarks to this occasion. Please welcome Prof. Zainal. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Rozi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, very good afternoon everyone. Warming greeting to Prof. Tita, from San Beda University and everyone. Selamat datang pada Renper Horizon OMINAR seri yang ketiga. Welcome to Renper Horizon OMINAR Series 3. First, I would like to thank Mr. Untayo, LLM. I hope I pronounce correctly. He is a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics, San Beda University in the Philippines. And Dr. Retna Agustina, she is a Dean at the Faculty of Economic and Business, University of Bengkulu, for their willingness to share their expertise and experience on this seminar. Secondly, we would like to thank Prof. Tita from San Beda University for facilitating their students to participate in this seminar. I think there are about 31 students participating in this OMINAR. We would like to inform everyone, especially from those from other countries, that before pandemic, before COVID-19 pandemic, the Horizon seminar was held in this office at the University of Bengkulu Renper every month. But since the pandemic, we run the OMINAR online. In the seminar, we discuss poverty from different standpoints, such as economics, social, culture, religion, and so on. And today's seminar, which the topic is the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the poverty rate and unemployment, as mentioned by Pak Rozi just a moment ago. We are happy to follow the presentation for both speakers. For your information, the participants are mostly from across the country, as I mentioned before, and also from Philippines, Malaysia, and the USA. Next month, the OMINAR will be delivered by Dr. Titi Kartika from UNIP and probably the partner from Indonesia or from other countries. And finally, we thanks again to Mr. Untayo, LLM, and Dr. Retno, and also thank to all participants participating in this OMINAR. Thank you very much and have a good OMINAR for today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Baiklah, terima kasih Pak Zainal. Thank you very much, Prof. Zainal. We also believe that this afternoon session will give us a better understanding of how poverty takes place and occurs due to the COVID-19. And we hope eventually we will have the way to eradicate it each in our way. Baik, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants, we are going to have the panel discussion this afternoon. So both speakers will present his or her presentation for 20 minutes, and then we will have a discussion session. But we'll see how things go. At the first time, I would like to invite the Attorney Dictador V. Untayo to deliver his presentation in this afternoon session. Saya akan mengundang Bapak pengacara Attorney Dictador V. Untayo from San Beda University to deliver his presentation. Please welcome Mr. Untayo. The time is used and we will enjoy your presentation, your 20-minute presentation. Thank you. Please, time is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. For today, I will be discussing to all of you the impact of to employment and poverty rate in the Philippines. For starter, allow me to give a situation overview of COVID-19 and how it started here in the Philippines. It can be recalled that on January 30, 2020, the World Health Organization declared public health emergency of international concern for COVID-19. This happened after the Chinese authorities confirmed that they have identified coronavirus in Wuhan City. In the same month, the first 3 cases were recorded in the Philippines. All these cases involved persons with confirmed travel history to Wuhan City. And then on March 5, the first case of COVID-19 with no travel history abroad was confirmed, indicating the presence of local transmission. Since then, the number of COVID cases in the Philippines continued to grow. And as of August 30, there are 217,396 cases of COVID-19. And unfortunately, the same resulted to 3,520 deaths. While everyone is at risk of being infected by COVID-19, elder people and persons with pre-existing conditions or with compromised immune systems, as well as those frontliners, are considered the most vulnerable in our society. People at risk of infection are also those living in poor, densely populated urban settings, and any community with inadequate access to proper hygiene supplies and with constrained hygiene and sanitation practices. As a lower middle income country, the Philippines exemplifies the challenges of a healthcare system in transition. COVID-19 pandemic puts additional strain on the already overwhelmed healthcare system in the country. Undeniably, this pandemic is causing a significant disruptive effect on the economy and is expected to negatively impact economic growth and nation development well beyond 2020. On the part of our government, series of responses were made in order to address COVID-19. Following the confirmation of the first localized transmission, the Department of Health raised its COVID-19 alert level to Code Red Sublevel 1, and then the President formally declared a nationwide public health emergency through Proclamation number 22 on March 8. On March 12, the COVID-19 alert system was raised to its highest level to Code Red Sublevel 2, imposing community quarantine over National Capital Region starting March 15. On March 16, the President declared a Luzon-wide enhanced community quarantine to take effect the following day until April 12. On March 14, the President signed into law the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, also known as the Republic Act 11649, providing him with emergency powers in order to further strengthen the government response to COVID-19. The ECQ, or Enhanced Community Quarantine, was extended until April 30 and was further extended again until May 15 for NCR and other high-risk areas. Localities under ECQ are generally ordered to stay at home, with its residents restricted from traveling to other cities or barangays. Barangay governments can issue quarantine passes, allowing residents to buy essential goods outside curfew hours and within the issuing barangay's jurisdiction. On May 12, the President placed NCR and other high-risk areas under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, or MECQ, from May 16 to May 31. Under MECQ, ECQ is still in effect, except that more businesses were allowed to operate to help give the economy the needed boost and prevent more unemployment in the country. Beginning June 1, NCR and other areas transitioned to General Community Quarantine, or GCQ. GCQ is generally less stringent than ECQ. Public transportation is allowed at a reduced capacity, and selected businesses are allowed to operate at 50 to 100% of their regular capacity, depending on their industry. Shopping malls are also allowed to operate, although only selected stalls and stores are allowed to open. By August, the President reimposed MECQ in NCR and other areas from August 4 to August 18, taking into consideration the petition of medical frontliners to reimpose ECQ. Presently, NCR has reverted back to GCQ. Let's try to look at the different key socioeconomic effects of COVID-19, as well as the community quarantine imposed in the country. First, the Philippines plunged into recession as economy shrinks 16.5 in second quarter of 2020. Meanwhile, as per the Department of Labor and Employment, a total of 1.19 million workers as of April 12 are affected by COVID-19 and lost their income by reason of temporary closures of establishments. On the other hand, there are over 600,000 workers which, unfortunately, are receiving reduced income because of modified working arrangements. In its desire to help cushion the impact of the pandemic on the country's labor force, the Department of Labor continues to provide aid to displaced workers and the poor, especially in the countryside. Workers across the country and even overseas who have been affected by COVID-19 are assured of government financial assistance through the Department of Labor. For the private sector, the Department of Labor is implementing COVID-19 Adjustment Measure Program, or CAMP, which offers a one-time 5,000 pesos financial support to employees of companies or businesses or establishments that have adopted flexible work arrangements or temporary closures due to COVID-19 pandemic. For the informal sector, the Department of Labor is implementing emergency employment assistance programs. Qualified beneficiaries will receive daily minimum wage for 10 days by disinfecting their houses and vicinities. The disinfection must be done in coordination with the local health offices for safety. And aside from daily wages, the workers will get personal accident insurance, personal protective equipments, and cleaning kits. For the overseas Filipino workers who are considered modern-day hero because of their remittances, they are also affected by this pandemic. The Department of Labor is seeing a decrease of up to 40% or around $13 billion this year with respect to their remittances. The number of OFWs seeking assistance due to the effects of COVID-19 surged to more than 600,000 today. Finally, it is also worth noting that the pandemic is also exposing and deepening gender inequality. Women in particular are losing not only their paid employment, many are facing huge increase in care work at home due to school closures, overwhelmed healthcare systems, and the increasing needs of older people that they have to attend to. Let us now focus on the impact of COVID-19 to Philippine employment. According to Philippine Statistics Authority, the unemployment rate soared to 17.7% this year. On the other hand, underemployment rose to 18.9% in April 2020 from 13.4% in the same month last year. Take note also that the labor force participation rate among Filipinos 15 years old and above is estimated at 55.6%, which is the lowest since 1987. If we look at the figures, the number of employed workers decreased across all three major sectors. For the agricultural sector, it is down to 8.7 million from 9.1 million a year ago. For the industry, it is also down to 5.8 million from 8.1 million a year ago. And for the service sector, it is also down to 19.3 million from 24.6 million a year ago. Among the subsectors, the biggest drops in employment were posted in arts, entertainment, and recreation, down 54% to 200,000 from 436,000 a year ago. Electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply is likewise down 43.1% to 61,000 from 108,000 a year ago. Information and communication is likewise down 40.6% to 267,000 from 450,000 a year ago. For accommodation and food service activities, the same is also down 35.8% to 1.2 million from 1.9 million a year ago. And construction down by 33.8% to 2.8 million from 4.2 million a year ago. Significantly also, the average working hours also were cut short to 35 hours by April this year from 41.8 in the same month last year. With respect to poverty, the World Bank projected the Philippine gross domestic product to enter negative territory with a 1.9% contraction this year, largely as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and imposition of community quarantine that put the economy to a halt. According to World Bank, recession in the Philippines is likely to worsen poverty in 2020. World Bank estimated a potential increase in poverty rate by 3.3% as a result of community quarantine. According to Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS, the impact of COVID-19 could lead to 1.5 million Filipinos becoming poor. As of 2018, nationwide poverty rate fell at 16.7% from the previous record of 23.3% in 2015. Note that the government target was to slash the poverty rate to 11% by 2022, the year President Rodrigo Duterte will step down. Here is a study conducted by the PIDS, which provided for poverty scenarios taking into consideration income contraction and effective social protection programs of our government. The study used food poverty and total poverty lines in 2018 data as the baselines. A poverty line is the standard of the government in naming who are poor based on their household income. According to PIDS, a household is considered poor if it spends less than 2,200 pesos per person a month. Meanwhile, when a household spends less than 1,540 pesos per person a month, then it is food poor or extremely poor. PIDS estimated the impact of COVID-19 on poverty in the Philippines by simulating low, medium, and high contractions of 5%, 10%, and 20% respectively of the entire income distribution. This allows us to see scenarios wherein everyone's income are decreased by those percentages. Based on the study of PIDS, in a scenario where everyone is on the receiving end of a 10% decrease in their income, the number of poor Filipinos can increase by 5.5 million. However, since the government has social protection programs in place, such as the emergency subsidy programs and the small business wages subsidies, the projected increase of poor Filipinos lowered to 1.5 million instead. From 5.3%, the proportion of extremely poor Filipinos can increase by 1.1% if everyone's income decreased by 5%. If the ESP and SBWS are completed in this setting, the extreme poverty incidence would drop to 4.4%. This is the only situation on PIDS projection where there would be less poor Filipinos after the pandemic, supposing there is an equal income decrease for everyone. At 10% income contraction, extremely poor Filipinos would increase by 2.4% without ESP and SBWS. If the programs were successful, food poverty would increase by only 0.3%. In the worst case scenarios, that all incomes should decrease by 20%, extreme poverty incidence would more than double at 11.4%. But should the ESP and SBWS be successful, food poverty would increase by only 3.3%. Because of the situation, the government was able to enact certain legislation in order to address the problems brought about by COVID-19. And of course, these legislations, which include the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, also known as Republic Act 11469, provided emergency measures in order to mitigate losses brought about by the pandemic. Some of these emergency measures include the following. First, cash assistance. This is provided by various agencies to 4-piece beneficiaries, informal economy workers, drivers of public utility vehicles, farmers, fisher folks, and affected workers for daily basic needs. There is also in-kind assistance, which involve transportation, food and accommodation, which are being provided by different government agencies. Wage subsidies for small businesses are also included in the emergency measure. The Department of Finance is implementing small business wage subsidy program to help workers belonging to the low to medium middle class affected by the community quarantine. We also have grants or loan assistance. Loans and grants are being extended to affected agri-entrepreneurs and individual farmers and fisher folks to help their income loss and ensure the continuity of agricultural activities. There is also emergency employment program spearheaded by the Department of Labor. And this is an emergency work program that employs displaced workers for certain activities such as disinfection, sanitation in the vicinity of barangays, for a wage equivalent to at least 100% of the prevailing highest minimum wage in the region. We also have emergency or calamity loan assistance. The social security system in the Philippines offers calamity loans of up to 20,000 pesos or equivalent to 1 month's salary to its affected members under ECQ starting April 24 of this year. In the days and months after the enhanced community quarantine was lifted, the COVID-19 threat will likely to remain. We will need to find ways to resume social and economic activities while sustaining efforts to limit the spread of the virus. In this regard, it is essential to characterize the new normal and identify appropriate government interventions and policies that will facilitate transition into the new normal. In defining new normal, the World Health Organization outlined 6 criteria that should be met before restrictions could be lifted. First, transmission must be controlled. Second, health system capacities are in place to detect, test, isolate, and treat every case and trace every contact. Third, outbreak risks are minimized in special settings like health facilities and nursing homes. And then fourth, preventive measures are in place in workplaces, schools, and other places where it's essential for people to go. And fifth, importation risk should be managed. And finally, communities are fully educated, engaged, and empowered to adjust to the so-called new normal. In general, the new normal will be characterized by the need to observe social distance and strict personal hygiene and other sanitation protocols. There may still be sporadic lockdowns, though over a small geographic unit, and at the same time, the COVID threat looms large in the minds of individuals for both consumers and business alike. This general context has far-reaching implications across different dimensions, but allow me to focus on the economic dimension of new normal. The global economy is expected to be in recession this year as COVID-19 pandemic continues to spread, significantly slowing down and even halting economic activities in certain areas in various countries. The International Monetary Fund estimates that the current crisis will result in contraction in global economy with a negative 3% growth in 2020, assuming that the pandemic diminishes in the second half of the year and strict containment measures will be subsequently and gradually lifted. The unprecedented containment efforts taken by our government in different nations to stem the spread of the virus are expected to have the most significant immediate economic impact as these hamper both supply and demand. In particular, shutdowns have disrupted supply chains, layoffs have lowered incomes, and uncertainty has reduced demand. These global disruptions, together with the travel restrictions imposed at the end of January, deterioration in the business and consumer confidence, and the imposition of community quarantine in Luzon, are estimated to reduce domestic economic growth to negative 3.4 to negative 2% in 2020. In many service-oriented organizations in the private and public sector, flexible work arrangements will have to be implemented in accordance with strict social distancing protocols. In many instances, part of the new normal means working and interacting virtually instead of face-to-face. Workspaces will need to be reconfigured to address the need for physical distancing. Work protocols in the manufacturing sector will also need to be reconfigured to comply with social distancing. This will mean a mix of staggered work hours and greater dispersion of workspaces. Sit-down eateries may need to shift to take-out menus, and those that anchor their business models on the ambience of their place will need to repackage their service. The same goes for tourism establishments. Hygiene protocols will be expected in all establishments, such as the presence of disinfection areas and disinfectants within easy access of everyone. Health checks and temperature scannings will remain the norm. This will mean higher cost of doing business in the near term. E-commerce will play a big role in the new normal scenario as businesses and consumers increase the use of online transactions, including the expanded use of cashless payment system and other financial technology platform. This bodes well for the retail and other business activity sector, including information technology and business process management. In the transport sector, reduced load factor accompanied by stringent sanitary protocols in all modes of public transportation will be part of the new normal. Travel restrictions will likely continue for the time being as demand for tourism and travels in general will be relatively low. In conclusion, it is understandable that the double whammy of the pandemic and the economic slowdown has affected everyone. Some had relied solely on the government assistance just to meet basic needs. Still, others incurred losses. These losses need to be reduced to facilitate the resumption of business. There is, however, the distinct acknowledgement that things will not go back to normal, even when the community quarantine is lifted. Some forms of social distancing will still need to be implemented, along with the very religious hygiene and sanitation protocols. Given the many interventions of government that has been enumerated, one should not lose sight that foremost of these should be on improving healthcare systems capacity. As implied by the World Health Organization, healthcare system capacities pertains to different facilities, personnel, equipment, and protocols to detect, test, isolate, and treat every case and trace every contact, minimize outbreak risk in settings like health facilities and nursing homes, and measures to prevent disease transmission in place where it is essential for people to go. The COVID-19 pandemic is probably the most significant shock of the century. Worse, the only solution at the moment is to slow down economic activity. For this solution to be effective, government needs the utmost cooperation of the public and the business sector, as the solution generally concerns them. And at the same time, there must be the perception that there is an end to resorting to the temporary solution. There must be a time frame guided by evidence to be communicated well to the general public, wherein the country transitions to applying the more robust solution. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Untayo, for your presentation. That was a very thoughtful and inspiring presentation. You did present us with a comprehensive pictures of how COVID-19 affect economic activities in Filipina case, in this case. And also you gave us some information of the effort provided by the governments. We will explore more your presentation in the discussion session. And meanwhile, you may take your own drink, I guess, sorry. Enjoy your drink. Salama, thank you. Mr. Runtayo. Next, I would like to additionally invite Dr. Retno to deliver her presentation for maximum of 20 minutes. I believe her presentation will be complementary to aspects with what have been presented by the first speaker. Bu Retno, the time is yours. We will be very happy to listen and to enjoy your presentation. Thank you, Bu Retno.
Thank you very much, Dr. Faru Rozi, Dr. Untayago. Good afternoon, and the President of the Renper. Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me here to share some views on the impact of coronavirus for the unemployment and the poverty. As I follow the presentation by Dr. Untayao, maybe several of the presentation is also in my presentation, so I will skip on that. Let me share, can I share my screen right now, Dr. Faru Rozi? Thank you. Okay, the topic that they are given by the committee of the Renper is the impact of pandemic COVID-19 on poverty and unemployment. I have 4 agenda to discuss here. The first one is on the impact of pandemic, and this is the global, regional, and how pandemic has changed the world, the transmission on health and the economic. And second one is on the poverty, how trend and distribution, and the unemployment. I will discuss also on trend and distribution. And the last one is on the policy choices and alternative, mostly by the Indonesian government. And I follow the previous presentation. Most of the policy in the Philippines is also done in Indonesia to cope, to mitigate the coronavirus. The pandemic COVID-19, the global issue, is discussed previously that we have globally 24 million more confirmed cases, and with 838 plus death number of people. And we take a look on the area of the confirmed cases. The America has the highest, is 3 million something, and then the Europe and the Southeast Asia. The thing that I like to show here is how the American have the spike and down, but is still in the upward move of the COVID-19 confirmed cases. But take a look on the Southeast Asia, on the purple one, that we have increased number of confirmed cases in the Southeast Asia. But on the other area, like Africa, they have the declining confirmed cases at the several months or several weeks. In Indonesia, the cases is around 169,000 plus confirmed cases, with the 7,000 something death, number of death. If we compare with the Philippines, the number of the confirmed cases is higher in Philippines as of August 30, but the number of deaths is lower than Indonesia. It's almost half number compared to Indonesia. Now, if we take a look of the confirmed case and the number of population in the countries, Indonesia is the fourth most populous country, and the Philippines is the third populous country in the world. Indonesia is 2,074,000 something, with the cases of 169, which means around 0.62%. And the Philippines, compared to the number of the population, is around 0.1%. Then if we take a look more closely in the cases of Indonesia, today's cases, or maybe tomorrow, not tomorrow, yesterday cases is 3,300 confirmed case. And this is, if we compare with the daily increase previously, it increased 10.45% in the daily increase. The number of deaths, in the other hand, is decreased. So that is good because it's decreased around 12.5% daily change from the previous day. The pandemic COVID have the health, economic, and other social pressure. The transmission of the pandemic is through the health and education, and then to the economic situation and to the other social condition. I will go from here that the other from the direct impact is on the health, the indirect, say in the economic and other activities. COVID-19 will make a declining in the economic activities, decline in the economic growth, and household expenditure is also decline. And when the household expenditure decline, the poverty incident increase. Take a look of the economic impact. I'm sorry, wait a minute. We see that the regional currencies weaken, the ASEAN 5 weaken the currency, and also the NIS, newly industrialized economies, is also weakened. If we take a look on the growth, GDP growth outlook in developing Asia, the forecast for 2020 for developing Asia is lower in the developing 2.2, but in the developing Asia excluding NIE is 2.4. It's not much different in those. But projection from the IDB Outlook database on the 2021, I see as an optimist one, optimist in the area of Asia, with this positive growth on the GDP. If we take a look of the Indonesia GDP, now it's in Indonesian term, the Indonesian GDP growth slow. It's decline in the investment and the private consumption. And if we take a look on the supply and demand shock, we see the graph that is through the June. This is data from the June. And also, if we take a look on the June and July, it's also the same. There is affect the supply and demand shock affect the inflation in the area. In terms of the private consumption, GDP, and change in the export, we see that GDP growth decline along with the weaker investment and private consumption is declining. And the when the government decide to have mobility restriction, where it says due to the mobility restriction due to the health concern, there is a significant deceleration of the household consumption. It's pushed downward on the household consumption and the total private consumption going down. Now it is under poverty. Adam Smith, I quote, "No society can surely be flourishing and happy, of which by far the greater part of the number are poor or miserable." We want everybody to, no one left behind in the system, so we will be flourish and happy with everyone in the community. This is the estimation of Indonesian poverty rate and the number of poor people. We take a look. Going to the right is going to more pessimist scenario. We go the more pessimist scenario from baseline of 2019 baseline to the 2020, the end of 2020. We see that the lower the growth, economic growth, the higher the poverty rate and the number of poor people. The poverty rate become estimated to 16.6%, double from more, not double that, more than 50%, and the number of poor people increased into 44.5. If we take a look on the estimation, and in terms of the changes in poverty rate and change the number of poor is also the same. So the changes, if we have 3.5%, the change in the poverty rate is 7.3. So almost double compared to the September 19, and the change on the number of the poor is also increased from 24 to additional of 19.7. Now we take a look on the if the poverty getting higher, getting worse, and we look comparing relate to the education, the percentage of learning poverty and GDP per capita. It shows that there is a relationship between the higher GDP per capita and the lower of learning poverty. For example, Singapore with the higher GDP per capita and half the percentage learning poverty, there is low. Low. The percentage of learning poverty, where is defined here, is the percentage of children under 10 who are unable to read and comprehend short text appropriately compared to those on the same age. And Indonesia is at the green cycle there. Share of firm reporting on the research and development spending. From the studies, it shows that this is the World Bank study that I quote. The size with the company of large 100 and over employee, with the older company 16 year or more, and the status is the exporting, and the ownership is the foreign owns, have the share in the firm of reporting and RD higher than the others. Then the next one, I think I'm gonna skip, and this is I'm gonna skip because I think it's mentioned previously the difference between the per capita GNI with the dollar in 2018. The IMF quote June 2020, in countries with high share of informal employment, lockdown have led to joblessness and abrupt income losses for many of those workers. This is the finding from the IMF studies. If we take a look here, I'm sorry, I have to move. Employment and unemployment rate constant from February to 2020. And underemployment decreased driven by increase in voluntary unemployment. I'm sorry. It's just that the why underemployment decrease is so here that on the February 2020 compared to the February 18 decrease is because the pressure on the voluntary underemployment. The studies also mentioned that during this condition, this pandemic, nearly a quarter has stopped working. Around 2/3 experience reduced income. Impact greater on less educated and in urban area. Income and in employment impact varies by location. Pandemic COVID-19 income shock with largest drop among urban households. And how the impact of the employment, we see the differences between the female and male employment area. Most of the women is on the personal care, health associate, cleaners, helper, health professional, food preparation, sales worker, which means that this will be having impact from the coronavirus 19. Policy response, this is policy response. There is, I think I follow the previous discussion on Philippines, is almost the same done in Indonesia. In Indonesia, ADB 2020 studies estimate the GDP losses in short and long containment. Mostly reduce GDP in the hotel, restaurant, and other personal service. If short period, then it's minus 11.4. But if this long containment is reduced to minus 16.8%. For the total economic wide, on the long containment is minus 5.8, but in the long containment is 8.6%. That's quite, and I just like to mention several of the government policy which is done by the government of Indonesia. I see in the Philippines also done the staple food and the employment card and the subsidized and the village fund increase. But at the regional and local level, policies depending on locality problem is varies between each province or even in the sub district. I see a lot that's a blessing in disguise in this pandemic that increase social capital. We see that a lot of people helping others in need, communities hand in hand to help their neighbors. And this is a good impact that we feel right now. This is my presentation. Thank you for listening and invite all question and comment on this. Thank you very much. Salamat.
Thank you so very much. Terima kasih banyak Ibu Retno. We did enjoy your presentation and I know that kita sudah banyak yang tidak sabar. We are impatient to address a question. So for those of you who want to ask question for either to Bu Retno or to Mr. Runtayu, please address your name. Mention your name and your evaluation, and maybe we'll read the question before. I know there's two people raised their hand, Yawan Sahadi, to everyone. But I would like to start with a question that addressed to Mr. Runtayu, as well as Dr. Retno. The question is, mana question? Okay, someone raise hand. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to take the question to those who raise hand. I have to check. Oh man, what is it? 1 second. Siapa? Mr. Surajio from. Please you zoom him, please. Huh? No? Okay.
Mr. Ozi, I think we got some questions from the chat.
Yeah. Gimana? Okay, I'm going to, where's the chat room, please? Okay. Meanwhile, we are going to take the question from the chat room. The question for Mr. Runtayu from Professor Riwandi and Dr. Agus Susatyo of University of Bengkulu. The question is, why are 40 to 60% of all sectors, for example, agriculture, industrial services, down in employment because of COVID? Maybe. Okay, the question, I believe the question is the, yeah, I think he is wondering whether the the reduction, the declining in employment in all sectors that you mentioned is due to COVID-19 or not, or maybe some other factors. And Pak Agus asks Mr. Runtayu, what sectors are the resilient to the COVID-19? Because in some cases, agriculture sectors appear to much less influenced by the pandemic. Therefore, they may function as a social safety net in rural areas. And the question to Dr. Retno from Professor Riwandi is, what is the relation between poverty rate and number of poor people in COVID-19 situation? I might mistakenly understand the question, but at least that the question that I can summarize in the chat room. Please take your time, Mr. Runtayu, to respond to the question.
Good afternoon again. To address the first question, the question was, why are all sectors, e.g. agriculture, industry, service, etc., down in employment? Is it because of COVID-19 pandemic impacts? Well, based on the available data from the Department of Labor and Employment, it can be generally assumed that the cause of rising unemployment and employment issues in the country are brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the reason for this is because if, like what I have previously presented, as early as March, the government imposed community quarantine of varying degrees in the country. And because of this community quarantine, it disrupted different economic activities and resulted to a lot of adverse repercussions, especially to business establishments, which resulted to either permanent or temporary closures. And at the same time, it also resulted to different working arrangements, other than the traditional going to work, working at least 8 hours a day. this cannot be done during quarantine time. And of course, we have to also consider the cost that the establishments have been incurring for the past several months. And for this reason, it can be said that the reason for the decreasing employment in the country is because of COVID-19, and of course the imposition of community quarantine in the country. Now, for the second question, the question was about agricultural sector appearing to have much less influence, or appears to to be less influenced by the pandemic. Actually, I prepared quite a very long presentation. However, I was informed earlier that it should be trimmed down to less than 30 minutes. If I may be allowed, I would like to share to you my original presentation, which involves estimation made by the National Economic Development Authority of the Philippines, the NEDA, with respect to the estimated losses by reason of COVID-19. With respect to agricultural sector, the government agency, NEDA, conducted a survey, online survey from April 5 to 8, 2020. And this survey include consumers, agricultural sector, micro, small, and medium enterprises for industry and service sector. And based on the survey, of course, there is an express recognition that it may not be representative of the entire country, given that this survey was conducted using an online platform. Nonetheless, the result provided a good indication of the pain points of consumers, businesses, and agriculture sector workers resulting from the COVID-19 threat and the community quarantine. As you can see, based on this presentation, with respect to the agricultural sector, the result of the Business Rapid Assessment Survey tells us that 94.3 million was lost from unsold products in the country, with the biggest chunk coming from Calabarzon at 26.33 million, or equivalent to 27.9% share, followed by Central Luzon with 24.84 million pesos, or 26.3% share. And as you can notice from the schedule, the high value crops account for 39%, or 36.82 million of the total losses, with Calabarzon posting 33%, which is 29 billion pesos of the losses. For cereal, the aggregate loss is 24.22 million, or 25.7% of the losses, which is almost half, or 48% of which came from Central Luzon. Now, if we look at other sectors also, the same has, or the COVID-19 has similar effect on other industries. It resulted to losses. And for industry sector, the total foregone revenue in manufacturing, mining, and quarrying and construction are 486.97 billion, 12.81 billion, and 37.93 billion respectively. For the manufacturing, as you can see, Calabarzon comprised almost half of the losses at 240.39 billion. And on the other hand, Western Visayas had the highest losses in mining and quarrying with 2.26 billion, or 17.6% share, while National Capital Region had the highest losses in construction industry with 24.38 billion, or 64.3% of share. So what does it tell us? This particular data tells us that the effects of COVID-19 is not just isolated on certain area, but instead the entire Philippines is really affected because economic activities have been hampered due to a lot of government policies to address or to respond COVID-19, such as the community quarantine. And because of this, we can say that it really affected the entire economy of the country, resulting in fact to recession of the Philippine economy.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Okay, the next question to Bu Retno, I guess, is addressed to Bu Retno. What is the relation between poverty rate and number of poor people in COVID-19 situation?
Thank you, Dr. Farorosi, and thank you for the question. Maybe the question is the difference between poverty rate and the number of poverty rate compare from the slide that I shared between the impact on the rate and impact on the changes. So the changes is, for example, if we assume that the economic growth is around 1%, so the poverty rate increased from 9.2 into 12.4. It means that the additional increase is 3.1%. And the number of the poor people increased from 24.8 million into 33.2, the numbers. And the other slide is discussing the additional. So both is related directly. When the rate of the poverty increased, then the number of poor people increased. But we differentiate the both diagram to see how much or how many number of people becoming poor during the scenario of the economic growth. That's what I mean. I think the question is on that. Thank you, Dr. Farorosi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bu Retno. I'm going to take another question that I think this question should be answered by both of you, Bu Retno and Mr. Runtayo too. The question from Mr. Secretary about the effectiveness of the government policy in dealing with COVID-19. And maybe Bu Retno as well as Mr. Runtayo can elaborate. What do you think the effectiveness of the government policies to deal with COVID-19 in Indonesian case and also in Philippine case? And the last question is, I think both of you might take to answer this question is because from Mr. Agus Joko Purdadi, he quoted that the difference between Marxism and communism. What do you think about it? The greater the poverty rate, the more fertile revolutionary communism and not socialism rather than poverty. I'm not sure if you feel free to answer this question, but you may answer or not to the last question. I think it's going to be the last session because of the time. After this, we are going to have a photo session and also maybe some small remarks, I guess. Please, Mr. Runtayo and Bu Retno to answer both questions. Thank you.
Okay, with respect to the question on how effective the government response is in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, I believe that our government, the present administration, through the Bayanihan Hilaswan Act, allowed the president to exercise certain emergency powers in order to address the problems or issues brought about by this pandemic. I think that given that the present administration was able to was able to come up with budget allocation in order to address problem, there should be convincing improvement of COVID cases in the Philippines, or at least to save the present economy from collapsing. Because as of now, admittedly, not just in the Philippines, probably in different parts of the world, a lot of nations are experiencing recession. And most of the programs that were initially used by the government is for is a temporary solution to address the needs of the people during community quarantine. Now, the next thing to be done there is to address the current situation and at the same time to prepare for the so-called new normal. And in so doing, it needs more preparation and resiliency coming from the government, and of course a proactive attitude coming from the people, because this is a two-way process. It's not enough that the government caters the needs of its people. In order to address this problem, people are likewise expected to help minimize the transmission of the disease until we are able to get a solution or vaccine of whatever sort in order to solve the COVID-19 pandemic. And so far, I believe that for as long as the budget allocations are properly used and are properly given to those beneficiaries, I think that the government is doing a good response so far. But of course, it's a different issue when it comes to minimizing the number of cases. There should be, of course, a lot of testing that should happen. There should be contact tracing, etc., which should be left to the sound discretion of the health managers of the country. But insofar as the economic side or aspect is concerned, I think with the proposed plan set by the government, I think we are on the right track to recovery also.
Good. Thank you very much. Maybe you can add a very short one. Which sector is the economy that are likely to recover faster, and which one is the slowest? Industries or agriculture or other construction?
Insofar as the question on what particular sector would be able to recover faster, I am of the opinion that the agricultural sector would be able to recover faster as compared to other industries or sectors such as services, retail, trade, etc. Because in agriculture, it is not contained on certain area, specifically where most number of COVID cases are recorded. There are provinces which have relatively lower number of COVID cases, and we can maximize the potentials of these areas and to further bolster and improve the agricultural sector in those particular places. And I think it will be very challenging or very difficult, on the other hand, for the service sector to recover. I'm not saying it will not be able to recover, but it is a very challenging task for them because these are service-oriented industries which requires more physical contact with consumers. And if they are able to devise certain ways or methods in order to minimize it and adapt to new normal, then probably they will be able to somehow cope up also with the challenges of the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Runtayo. It's very good and very sharp and very brief answers. I think now I'm going to invite Dr. Retno, to give some thoughts and respond to the question about the effectiveness of the government policy, as well as which sectors is the fastest to recover or the slowest factor to recover. Please, Bu Retno.
Thank you, Dr. Faru Razi. I agree with Dr. Untayo on this matter. that the services will be slower to recover compared to the primary sector. But on the effectiveness of the government policy, it's not only about the policy, but about how quick the response of the the response or the implementation of the policy is much more important than the type of the policy itself. Several of the local government have low financial disbursement, for example. So central government have to push and to make regulation that the financial disbursement will be increased in a short time, not waiting for a long time to get disbursement. And the central government, coordination between central government and local government. They have reallocate budget to make sure that the problem, either the problem is general as of all of the province have the same problem, and also specific problem in the area, because we understand where is the red area, where is the yellow, where is the green, in response to the pandemic COVID-19. The first budget allocation is on the health. Health of the community have to get financial support and quick what is it, medicine or something like that to make the community health better. And the second one is budget allocation on the economic recovery activity. For example, for the small and micro business, and in Indonesia now, even work for the ultra micro economy, and then the education and the infrastructure. And in Indonesia, the other pressure is on the political cycle. In the next several months, there will be local, campaign and the political agenda, the 5 years period of the political system is going to be happen in several months. Is also one of the pressure, how we deal with that. So I mention again the quick response, the financial disbursement, the budget allocation, coordination between local and central governments, and the sector that hit the most is the one that is supported by the government. And the third one is the social capital activities that have to be improved, and then promote better on that. And the lastly, that the Indonesia right now, the government promote local product. So use the local product in your area, and you can support the farmer in the area, so they get a better production, better distribution, and hopefully the impact on the economic will be dampened by that. As also that one of the thing is to make the scenario whether this pandemic will long in the short period or in the medium or long period. This make a difference in how we deal with the policy. I think this is my answer, Dr. Farurasi. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Terima kasih, terima kasih. Thank you very much, Bu Retno, Dr. Runtayo, for the response. I know we still have a lot of questions to ask to Dr. Retno and Mr. Runtayo, but time is really managed us. Talking about COVID is always some things too good to talk about, like an unending discussion. because it's really comes into our daily life. I'm not going to conclude. I know that you still have some question, but we are going to send you the presentation of Dr. Retno and Mr. Runcayo, and email address. Maybe you can communicate, discuss in private with them to have a better understanding about what's going on with the pandemic 19, COVID-19 and economic activities. I think I have to stop this seminar. Sorry to say this one, but before we end the seminar, I know that we have to see. Let's see the bright side of this pandemic. Keep doing our best. We'll do our best. Always be optimistic and positive, I guess. So right now. I have to invite you all to give your best smile, because we have to make a screenshot for the picture, and I'm going to say to 1, 2, 3, all the best smile, because 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 pages, 6 pages now, maybe 6 times. Okay, everybody, please smile, cheers in front of your screen for the documentation. Okay, next screen, please. Tell me if you finished. Second, please. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Good. I hope it's finished now. Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Finish. Okay. Good. Maybe thank you very much. So the photo session is over now. So Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, ladies and gentlemen, all the audiences from Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, United States, and other part of the world. Thank you very much for joining with us in the Renper Horizon OMINAR series. Next month, Dr. Titi Kartika will be the speakers, and we are also impatient to have her presentation. Sorry if there is something unusual or improper from I did during my chairman. I try my best. Saya coba untuk melakukan yang terbaik untuk memandu acara ini. But thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Tita.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Rosie. Thank you,
What's up,
Dean
Madlang
Retno.
people?
Thank you, Dick. Attorney Dick. Thank
What's
you.
up, Madlang people?
Thank you.
Bedans.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
What's up, Madlang
Thank
people?
you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Very much.
Salamat.
What's up, Madlang
Salamat.
people?
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bye.
Thank you, Prof. Nani.
Assalamualaikum.
Selamat po.
Terima kasih Indonesia. Selamat Philippines.
Selamat.
Selamat Philippines.
Madlang
See you
people.
some other time.
I'll see you, Prof. Tita.
Yes.
Another program, Dr.
Idol Brian.
What's up, Madlang people?
And Lord. Idol Brian Philippines. Mas Brian naman.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Ma'am Rolly, Viloria.
We will have another 1 or 2 minutes before the system stop us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make use of the time.
Take extra care, everybody.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, keep healthy, Prof.
Very, very soon.
So we can discuss more later on, Dr. Tita.
Yes, let's discuss other projects.
Mas Jen Lord.
That's good.
Yeah. Our students are ready for another one.
Yeah.
I'm answering for them.
Pak Jansen can, you can make a decision now to make a project with Dr. Tita.
Yeah.
No, I'm not the one. You guys are doing it.
Yeah. Many things to do, but for
Yes.
the
I mean,
people,
just
service.
just like what we did last year, something like that. So it's just much more simple. I mean, to do something like this. So we can do a student presentation as well, like we did last year. Yeah, something like that.
Actually, before the COVID, we had some researchers with our partner universities in Japan, and they're doing it with students in the Department of Economics. So maybe this time we can try it out. There were some concerns, or there was some sharing of policies, and perhaps you can have a look at those.
Yeah.
Indonesia and Philippines to start with. So virtual partnerships for our students and lecturers.
Yep. Something like if you got just like a class, online class, and you need someone from University of Bengkulu to speak at one meeting or one class. We are happy to do it. I mean, you can contact me. I'll find the right person or the right lecturer to do it. And I mean, the other way also. So if we have a class, online class or something like that, we can ask you if you could assign someone from Sanbeda University to that class. So that will be great.
That's actually part of our plan already. It's an international e-lecture series. So not only for the Department of Economics, but we're doing it for other disciplines.
Yep.
We can do that.
Yes.
So students will be having different international lecturers.
Yes.
Not only from Indonesia, but from all other partners that we have.
Yep. Yep, that will be great.
Yep.
I would like to say thank you so much to Attorney Ontayo for his time today. So.
Yeah. He should visit UNIB some other time with some of our students present here.
Yeah, we are more than welcome.
Yeah,
Prof.
isn't it?
Tita.
Yeah. Yeah, very lovely university. We enjoyed being there.
Thank you so
being
much.
with you. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you have some other things to do. So thank you. Bye-bye. We'll just communicate through emails.
Okay.
And WhatsApp.
We'll send the certificate for the speakers and for the participants.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.